Hi, I'm Jen and I miss my headphone jack. Happy September! I hope you're doing well, staying safe, and staying healthy. A lot of things are changing here in Camp Pendragon, but there are some things in the world that have not changed, like social injustice. This is a quick reminder that Black Lives Matter and that this channel is a safe place for BIPOC, queer, and disabled folks and other marginalized groups. If there are steps I can take to make my videos more accessible or more inclusive, please send me an email or drop me a line on Twitter or in the comments below. Another reminder that I do have a video about social justice education and a Google Doc that I update occasionally with information on how to make a difference no matter what your limitations. There are links to those resources in the description below. This week's video is the first in a series of vlogs about a brand new addition to the family, my new writing shed. I've been looking for a good excuse to build a writing shed outside for work and for a couple of my hobbies for a really long time. I started seriously researching this project about 6 months ago, when we realized that if Lauren came back to our house, we should probably give her my office space instead of having her live in the basement. It is a finished basement. We were not making her live in some weird concrete space. And now that Lauren has rejoined us here at the house, I have a great excuse. So I'm transferring my workspace, which means videos will probably look different from here on out. When I started my research, I was hoping to find either a blog or a YouTube video about someone who's gone on this journey before and created a writing space separate from their home. But I didn't see anything, so I decided to document the process myself from the very beginning. The idea of a writing space outside of my home was mostly inspired by my writing retreats. I wanted to forcefully disconnect myself from Wi-Fi and to keep minimal resources around me. My office currently is pretty full of all my writing projects, my arts and crafts, my stationery supplies, and most of my books, which is a lot of books. I get distracted very easily, but on my writing retreats, all I had was what I could fit in my backpack, and whatever project I was there to work on. I've also gone on writing retreats all in cold areas, including Vermont, Alaska, and Iceland. And that seemed really conducive to my writing. While I was in Vermont, I was at a really old farmhouse, and I did most of my work on their back porch, which is mostly closed in, but has a huge bank of windows overlooking the mountains behind the house. So I would bundle up, get a cup of tea, and my editing supplies, and just dig in for the day. So step one with this project, as with most projects, is to begin your research and to find out if it's even possible. I knew eventually down the line, I would want to keep my budget under $5,000. So if I couldn't find any options that were even close to that, this was going to be off the table for a while. But because it was all hypothetical when I started, I wanted to look at all the other options that people have tried. I started by Googling and searching YouTube for people who had built or converted sheds into writing spaces or hobby shops. I looked up tours and how-tos and eventually fell down a rabbit hole of decorating videos and articles. Some people renovated a structure that they already had. Others called a contractor and had them build it from scratch, or put together a shed that arrived in pieces. And still others, people with a lot more confidence and building experience than I have, started by buying all the raw materials themselves. In order to find an option that was affordable, a reasonable size, and in stock, I wound up at storageshedsoutlet.com. Say that like 5 times fast. I had already checked Lowe's, Home Depot, Wayfair, and Amazon, and I'm actually kind of glad that none of them worked out. All except Lowe's are companies that I don't particularly want to support for one reason or another. I had also researched Tough Sheds because Angela Kinsey has a That's What She shed in her backyard. And that's the company that she used to build it. And they have a lot of options and will even build a custom shed for you. But that was way out of my price range and seemed more permanent than what I was looking for. I settled on a lovely prefab cedar shed with 2 windows and an 8x10 footprint, and it came with a built-in floor, which was very important because I didn't really want to have my writing space with like a grass or dirt floor. By the time I was ordering the shed, however, it was out of stock, and that also turned out to be a good thing because it led me to find the greenhouse that I eventually ordered. That's right, I said greenhouse because one of the most important elements to me was to have lots of natural light in the shed. I'm not going to run a lot of electricity out there because that and plumbing are the 2 most complicated and expensive things to rig up to a freestanding structure. They change the type of permit you need, which I'll get back to in a minute, and can massively increase the fees that you need to pay. I know that if I ever need more power, I can get an inexpensive generator and run that out to the shed, but for now, I'm just going to stick with an extension cord. But the idea of a greenhouse was perfect. The one that I ended up choosing has one big bank of windows, and I ended up ordering shades that block out light and heat, as well as a fan and thermostat that came optional with the kit. I also ordered the optional workbench, which, if it were a greenhouse, would be a great big space by the windows for plants. But for me, I'll probably end up using it for sewing projects and to spread out my writing when I print out copies of novels and edit and move things around. One of the things I learned doing my research was that a shed or accessory building often requires a permit from the city or county, at least here in America. And in our area, the fees are pretty minimal and the process pretty simple. All you do is go to the city website, download and fill out a worksheet, and then submit it along with a site plot that indicates where you plan to build. Some places require that a building be a certain distance from the property line or from any other buildings on the property. Since we're not doing any digging, we don't have to worry about electric or septic lines. We're creating a gravel pad for the foundation of the shed because our yard is pretty level and drains well. But you may need to build something more stable depending on the site that you've chosen, possibly even building a concrete pad. No matter how you wind up creating a foundation, that's going to change the footprint of how much space you need and should indicate on your site drawing. The gravel pad only needs to be about 1 foot longer than the shed on all sides to keep it from eroding. And then we're also going to install 2x4s all the way around it to keep it more stable. While thinking about where you plan to build, you should also consider how much space you need around the shed in order to maneuver all the things that you're using while you're building it, and then how wide any doors or windows open up, and the direction of windows as far as where the sun rises and sets. Even if you buy a prefab kit like I did, you'll probably have to buy some DIY supplies to go along with it. You can read the instruction manuals for a lot of the kits online, and those will have detailed information about tools and supplies that you need to have on hand in order to put it together. Mine has a short list of tools, most of which we already owned, but some we needed to upgrade. For example, the level that we have is about this big, and that's fine for hanging pictures and doing little projects around the house, but probably won't do us much good when trying to level a huge 9x11 gravel pit. I also needed to order the gravel, plywood, and landscaping fabric for the foundation. Then we needed some caulk for the walls, windows, and door. I also ordered a jigsaw because I'm fairly sure that we need to cut a hole in the wall of the shed for some of the optional items like the fan and thermostat and the extra window. The kit also requires that we buy supplies for a shingled roof, which is the only part of this project with which I have absolutely no experience. I'm fairly confident about the rest of the parts of this process from having worked in theater for so long and building and taking down sets. And even though I did a ton of research and read a bunch of instruction manuals online, I have no idea what we're doing. And finally, I haven't ordered it yet, but I'm going to have to paint the outside in order to weatherproof it. I plan on getting a bunch of different paint chips in the mail and then comparing the way that they look in person because looking at colors online, not super effective. That's where we're at with the writing shed for now. I'm super excited to get started on this project, which according to the instruction manual, shouldn't take more than 12 hours, but I'm counting on it taking a couple of days. I'm not sure the manual takes into account things like the caulk setting and the paint drying, but I guess we're about to find out. This week on Advice Jen Can Dish Out But She Can't Take. If your dream project is within your reach, go ahead and do it. A lot of the time we get an idea in our heads and we think about it for so long that once it becomes achievable, we just sort of avoid doing it so that it can remain this perfect dream. It's exactly like the books that you never write, but talk about how one day you'll get to it. You can't edit what you haven't written, and you can't fix what you haven't built. Where do you get most of your writing done? And what does your dream space look like? Let me know in the comments below, or send me an email. You can check the description below for links to all of my social media pages, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi page. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the bell so that you get notified every time there's a new video. Thanks for watching, stay safe and stay healthy.
Hercules, my